Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's live session. I will also switch off my my video so that the network become very strong for everyone. So today is the last physical online session, live session that we'll be having together, and that brings us to the end of the 4 weeks training on sustainable biodiversity management. Quite a lot have been shared throughout the 4 weeks, and quite a lot have been analyzed, and quite a lot have been gained throughout the 4 weeks training. And I'm sure that a lot of information has been passed to us that we will end up implementing on our different horticultural farms. So today, rounding up, we have a quick recap. After the quick recap, we have the continuation of sequence 3, which was use of fertilizer in cultivated areas. Then we go on to have a 5-minute break. After that, depending on the number of people on the live session, we determine if we're going to have a Zoom breakout session, or we're going to have each person pick a topic, and then each person is going to discuss the topic with us in 5 minutes. So the topic we're going to look at are advantages of intercropping with examples, disadvantages of intercropping with examples, advantages of manual application on the farm with examples, and disadvantage of manual application on the farm with examples. Then we have a question and answer period, and after the question and answer period, we're going to navigate from module 2 and remind us all the things that we do, that we need to do. And then we also go through the training and evaluation module. That is very important because without that, no one can take his or her certificate. Even if you have finished the 60% of what you are supposed to do, and we have marked all your assignments, and you've done your test and your quiz, if you do not do the training and evaluation sheets, CP cannot allow us to release your certificates to you. So we'll explain that to you and other instruction that is on that page and how you're going to navigate that page. That is why I said that there are quite a lot of information to pass at the end of the session today. And so because of that also, we will not do an ice break today so that we'll have enough time to navigate through all the modules and go through them, and also the training and evaluation module tile. Thank you, and over to you, Ayo.
All right, good morning, everyone. I want to welcome you all to today's session, which happened to be the last for this training course, Sustainable Management of Biodiversity. Please permit me to share my screen. Okay, I'm trying to share my screen now. So while I'm sharing my screen, let me welcome Ibrahim Sheikh. Is Ibrahim Sheikh there, please? Ibrahim, are you there? Okay, good. It's good to know you are there. So, over the weeks, we've been talking about it's okay. It's okay. Thank you very much. So I was saying that over the week, we've been discussing the layouts that promote biodiversity. And today we'll be going to sequence 3, which happened to be the last sequence. And we'll be discussing today how to promote wild biodiversity on the farm. We've already established that wild biodiversity is such that we have little or no control over, because we do not intentionally cultivate there. So we do not really have control over it. So at the end of this sequence, we are going to know the layout and practices favorable to the wild biodiversity. We're also going to know the use of plant protection products in cultivated areas. And we are going to know how to use fertilizer in cultivated areas. And the last but not the least, we know how planting of perennial crop is done. So how do we promote wild biodiversity on the farm? There are two main components, two main types of wild biodiversity that must be promoted. Para-agricultural wild biodiversity, and the second one is extra-agricultural wild biodiversity. Now, the practices favorable to wild biodiversity. Number one is natural and semi-natural edges. We've already discussed what a natural ecosystem is, and we also mentioned what a semi-natural ecosystem is. And we're talking about natural and semi-natural edges here. If you look at the picture on your screen, I believe you can all see where my cursor is moving. This is the varied edges provide shelter and a ladder for numerous animal and birds. If you look at the trees that are planted around there, you'll see that this kind of tree can house birds. Yes, they have a way of making the ecosystem as natural as possible, because these ones are cultivated. So we consider them to be natural edges, semi-natural edges. But the ones that are not cultivated, that are in the wild, we consider them to be to be natural edges. Some of us can have some of these trees on our farm. We encourage that you don't pull them down, you don't cut them off, but you can cultivate your farm, you can cultivate your field around it while leaving these edges around your farm. So they have a whole lot they are doing on the farm. So we have copses. They are small wooded areas of a surface area between 5x and 50x. Above 50x, the space should be considered as forest. If you look at this picture very well, you can see this tree, you can see some other bushes around it, and you can see a playground. You can see a playing ground. In a natural setting, let me so to say, some of these bushes will be cleared off. But if you are moving towards practicing a kind of a favorable wild biodiversity, we encourage that we do our cultivations while leaving these trees around, where we have small wooded areas. They are small wooded areas, not a thick bush, but you can see the trees around. We encourage that you leave them and you can do your cultivation right outside it. So the other one is wet ponds, which we have as ponds or dishes. And I rightly mentioned that some of us are fortunate enough to have wet areas on our farm, maybe down the stream or upstream. We are just fortunate to have it, and some of us are not fortunate. But what is common in this setting is that we have some of this pond dammed. We do not encourage some of these things, some of these things. Once there is a pond around your farm, what we do is that you allow it to flow, do not dam it. Of course, there are cases whereby it can influence activities of mosquito. It can influence activities of some insects. But the disadvantages are not as much as the advantages. We say wetlands aren't very popular with the general public, which sees them as festering areas infested with mosquitoes, or simply as non-productive areas. Yet wetlands play a fundamental part in regulating water and contain great diversity. And that is what wetlands do for our farm. It regulates so many things. So we encourage that you don't dam it. And if you must dam it in such a way that the water can still flow through. It can still flow, because it is in flowing that the favorable aspect of wild biodiversity is encouraged. Then we have grass strips. Grass strips provide multifunctional vegetation cover made up of flora adapted to spatial characteristics of the plot, to its environment, and to the needs of the farmer. We must have seen grass strips around. If some of us have been to a savanna area, of course, the grass might not be as tall as that, but they are there, and they also serve as a favorable condition to foster wild biodiversity. So we come to the use of plant protection products in cultivated areas. We all know what plant protections are. We have the likes of chemicals that are used to prevent invasion of pests and microorganisms, as the case may be. So what are their effects? Of course, we have this kind of plant protection products that are broad spectrum. We refer to them as broad spectrum herbicides. There are some we refer to as selective herbicides. We have some to be insecticide, and we have some other one to be fungicide. There are many of them. There are molluscide, and as many as organisms or animals that constitute pests and predators on our farms. We have as much chemicals for them to prevent their invasion. Now, what are their effects on our farm? We discussed that phytosanitary treatments are believed to be one of the main causes of decline in biodiversity in the agro-ecosystem of industrialized country. Because of the consistent use of chemicals, plant protection products, we have seen a case of, we know what we refer to as eutrophication, where there is leaching, and you have a numerous nutrients when some of these chemicals are leached away to the river. So we have the sporadic growth of algae in the river, and which is not good enough. That water is contaminated for the use of humanity. It's also contaminated for the use of plants, and this happens over and over again, because there is no way some of these chemicals will not be washed away. It's either washed away by rain, or even when we are doing irrigation, they are washed away to the to the nearby stream, thereby contaminating the ecosystem, the water bodies around the farm. And we said that these spaces, we have buffer zones around the farm. There should be buffer zones around the farm. Buffer zones are areas where you don't really plant at all. So these spaces adjacent to cultivated plots are occupied by permanent vegetations. And what we refer to as permanent vegetations are those vegetations we mentioned. I mean, I showed us the picture the other time where we have semi-natural and natural ecology. So those are the natural vegetation. We have the copses there. So they are occupied by permanent vegetation. They can mitigate the negative effects of plant protection products. So let me take us back a little. The copses that we refer to here, the natural and semi-natural edges, all of this can mitigate against the impacts that the use of plant protection products are having on our farms. They can mitigate against it. And we say that ideally, to prevent these products from impacting biodiversity, they should not be used at all. Which we mentioned that the use of plant protection products are not encouraged, particularly when they are chemical oriented. We do not encourage it because they have a way of impairing the global gain when it comes to biodiversity. They always lead to biodiversity loss on our farm because they alter the ecosystem in the environment. Now, we move to fertilizer use in cultivated areas. The commonest fertilizer we use is nitrogen oriented. And we are all familiar with NPK 0, 15, 15, 20, 0, 15, depending on the specification of fertilizer we want to use on our various farms. So we have nitrogen pressure in cultivated areas. And again, now we cite an instance of maize. We discussed on Monday that when maize grow, it requires nitrogen. But by the time it's reaching maturity, it doesn't require nitrogen. So when the farm in which you are cultivating your maize is loaded with nitrogen-oriented fertilizers, you know the fertilizer will be too much, the nitrogen content of the soil will be higher, and the excess of this nitrogen will affect the growth of the maize. And that is where it operates. We have nitrogen fertilization is often overabundant, resulting in significant loss through leaching, percolation deep into the ground, contamination of aquifers and or surface water downstreams. And that was what I explained the other time. So too much nitrogen also weakens the plant growth. We are talking about root growth now, making them more sensitive to attacks by pests like aphids. So we must have seen aphids on our farm, particularly we that are vegetable farmers. When the field is overloaded with nitrogen, you are bound. That field is vulnerable to aphids. Aphids invasion, aphids attacks. The vegetable will be flooded and attacked by aphids, and that does not. It will lead to total loss. So we do not encourage the use of fertilizer on the farm. Then we also discussed the buffer zones that prevent the runoff of surface water, which can be high in nitrogen content. So these are the advantages. This is the advantage of buffer zones. That is the area that you do not, there are permanent cultivation. You do not cultivate them at all. There are natural edges there are causes there. They are just there like that. You are doing your cultivation outside them. So when there is a runover from your farm, that spaces absorb that place. It absorbs the excesses of fertilizer on the farm. So we have areas planted with perennial crops. And at this juncture, I believe many of us are used to planting perennial crops. Perennial crops, which are heterogeneous by strata or by age and or by species and or by variety, are more favorable to wild biodiversity. We all know what perennial crops is, and at this junction, I will want to ask the kind of perennial crops we plant on our various farms. So may I, who will go first? Can you just discuss with us the kind of perennial crops we plant on our farms? Let me start with David. David, on your home farm, may I know the perennial crops you cultivate? Okay, the network is not so stable. Okay, let me go to Matthew there. Matthew.
Hello.
All right. I was trying to call on Matthew. Is Matthew there? Can Matthew hear me?
Yeah, Matthew is online.
Okay. Matthew, please, can you just tell us the perennial crops you cultivate in your farm or on your farm?
Hello.
Yes.
Aya, can you repeat the question for him?
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning. I was trying to ask that, what are the perennial crops you cultivate on your farm?
For over here, Maflix, we are having citrus, coconut,
Okay.
pawpaw, mangoes.
All right. I think that's quite enough. So, since the time you've been cultivating them, may I know the advantages, apart from the economical aspect of it? What advantages do you have cultivating all of these perennial crops?
The advantage of the fruits are also economically beneficial to us when they mature, and also it helps control in soil erosion of our farms. And then sometimes they act as wind breaks.
Okay, that's good. That's good. That's good. So over to you, Matthew. Over to you, David. Is David there? Can David hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right. May I know the perennial crops you cultivate on your farm? And apart from the economical aspect of it, what are the advantages that you've gotten from them?
Yeah, I think one of the crop we do that can really be termed as perennial is roses.
Okay.
The rest of the crops are more of annual.
Okay.
Now, the advantage behind growing such is more of cost minimization in terms of operational expenses.
Okay.
You see, now if you have roses in a greenhouse and you have to have this crop for the next maybe 5 years or so, really you don't get to incur much cost in land preparations, getting new seedling so often and all that. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. So it is good to know that cultivating perennial crops have a whole lot of advantages. Someone mentioned that it serves as windbreaker, which is very important. It serves as soil erosion. And you know, soil erosion is one of the activity we want to prevent when we want to sustain biodiversity. And that is more reason why we encourage that cover crops should be planted. So all these perennial crops that you are planting, one of the things they also do is that they maintain the oxygen content in the atmosphere, and they also regulate the carbon dioxide content in the atmosphere, and which are very important for plant growth and development. It's also very important for humanity. We know that we take in oxygen and plant takes in carbon dioxide. But if all the trees are cut down, particularly on the farm, some of these things will not be regulated, and we may not be able to trace them. But when we observe a biodiversity smart kind of farming system, all of these things will be naturally cultivated, and we are going to enjoy it. Somebody just joined. Okay, it's okay. Okay, it's still David. So let me quickly do the summary. So the summary of everything I've been discussing over some time is that efficient management of land resources erosion control, organic fertilization, crop rotation, crop combination, and water resources, integrated management, eco-friendly phytosanitary treatment, etc., is a precursor to preserving wild biodiversity. So all of these things put together, as we have just explained, are the precursor to preventing wild biodiversity. And once we are able to do this, directly and indirectly, we are becoming biodiversity smart. And in particular, the wild biodiversity will be maintained as it ought to be. So there is a question here. What are the advantages and disadvantages of various developments in or around the farm? We've discussed the use of grass strips. We've discussed the use of causes. We've discussed the use of natural and semi-natural edges. So these are permanent vegetations that we do not cultivate, as the case may be, or sometimes we cultivate them in the case of trees. So what do you think are the advantages and disadvantages of all of these developments in and around the farm? So that will be the last question I'm going to ask us today. So may I ask Ibrahim? So Ibrahim, I have not spoken today. If your network is okay, so if we have what we have discussed put together around our farm and inside our farm, what do you think are the advantages and disadvantages? You can mention any. If you can mention advantage, fine. If you can mention disadvantage, it's not bad too. So over to you, Ibrahim. Okay, your network is not so strong. Can I advise that you send in a chat? Please send in a chat. Okay. Is Ibrahim there? Can you hear me, please? Okay, Ibrahim, please send in a chat. The network is not so strong, so we are not getting you as clear as possible. Please send in a chat. We'll be expecting your chat. Okay, David, if David can hear me, what do you think are the advantages or disadvantages of various developments? What all these things put together in and around the farm? Can you just mention one or two disadvantages or disadvantages as the case may be, based on your experience? Okay, David, is David there? Is David there? Can you hear me, please? Can you hear me, please? Is allowing me there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, good, you can hear me. Okay, if David is not there, over to you, Matthew. Matthew?
Yes.
Okay, can you just tell us the advantages and disadvantages of various developments? All of these things we have put together, all of this you have discussed, put together, what are the advantages and disadvantages on your farm?
The advantages, I can say one of them is it beautifies the environment and make it an ambient place.
Okay. Okay.
For various activities, it has to create that kind of atmospheric environment for work.
Good.
So just coming to see the plant alone, the hedges, the citrus, the coconut alone, probably will change certain things about, and will tell you more about nature.
Good. That's fantastic. So is there any disadvantage to them, please?
Yes, there is a disadvantage. Some like the trees we are having here, the mango trees. Sometimes they also make sanitation issues very difficult for us.
You are very correct. Very correct. I'm happy you mentioned that. So that's very, very correct. So Ibrahim Sheikh said that advantages, they can be alternative source of income. That's absolutely correct, especially the red. They also prevent erosion. That's perfectly correct. And he said, especially the tree crops, you are very much correct. And that's the way they are. But what we are considering is that the advantages overwhelm the disadvantages. And that is what nature is all about. If the advantages can overwhelm disadvantages, then we are good to go. Then he also mentioned that disadvantages include alternative hosts for pests. You are very correct. In the case of trees, when you plant the trees and the trees are high there, and the birds that take abode on that trees are feeding on the plants, so to say, on your, the plants you are cultivated. If you are a sunflower farmer, just like me, I'm into cultivation of sunflower. If I do not harvest them in due time, the edges around my farm, where these birds take their abode, they feed on them. So I cannot just have those sunflowers on the farm forever. Those birds will come around and feed on them. They'll think you don't need them, and it can be source of food for us. They'll feed on them. So these are one or two disadvantages of having the hedges on your farm. So with this, we have come to the end of this sequence and actually the end of this training course. And I want to give room for questions and answer. Is there any question you will want us to address before we move to the exercise we are supposed to do for this week? Is there any question coming from you, please?
Yeah, I have a question.
Okay, please go ahead.
I just needed to know if there is the best crop that you would maybe suggest to be planted in a constructed wetland. Which is the best crop to plant?
Which is the best crop to plant in your area? Is that what you mean, please?
Yeah, in a constructed wetland.
I think that in where?
In a constructed wetland. You see, in our farm we have this one wetland.
Okay.
That we use to dispose wastewater.
Okay.
This wastewater comes from the park houses.
Okay.
And also from the chemical store. Wastewater from the chemical store, that is water used by sprayers to flush the PPE.
Okay.
And also, yeah, and also from the canteen.
All right. Okay, so you want to know. Okay. Okay.
We have all these amount now accumulating into the wetland.
Okay. Okay.
So I just needed to know now which is the very best crop to plant in that wetland, so that at least now the crop assists in absorbing those chemicals. By the time we have this water getting released into the rest of the environment, it's less harmful.
It's okay. Yeah, I got it. Some years ago, we conducted the research on vegetable. We have the vegetable like celosia, probably you have about it, spinach, and there is still another vegetable that I can't recollect the name specifically. But we discovered that celosia have the capability of digesting chemicals. So in that case, all you need to do is that fill that place up with soil, whichever soil, preferably clay loamy soil, because they are already forming a wetland in that area. Fill that place up with clay loamy soil and plant this celosia vegetable there. It will digest everything. And you will not be able to test the possibility of having chemicals on the land. They digest it very well. It is an experiment proven, and that is what we use. We also recommend it for, where we have oil spillage. There are some land that oil spillage have actually affected them. They have rendered them unproductive. So we try to plant celosia there. Celosia digested all of those chemicals. And once they are digested, you cannot plant any other crop that you feel suitable for you to plant. But that particular crop does well. Did you get my answer, please?
I think,
Yes, I have. Thank you very much.
David, if I might come in, is the wetland area a permanent place for depositing the water?
Yeah, it's permanent. The wetland has been in existence for the last about 20 years or 15.
Yeah, so it's a permanent area.
Yeah, it's a permanent area. Actually, we are in the process of expanding the same.
Okay.
So I needed, once we expand now, I get to plant the very right crop in it.
Okay. So I also think that you can use coconuts, because coconuts would take like 4 years, 3 to 4 years before fruiting. And then coconuts can actually do well or in a swampy area or palm tree. But coconuts, I think in Kenya is more, you can see coconuts more than palm tree. When I visited Kenya, there was no palm tree. So, but I saw coconut trees. You can actually plant coconut trees there, and then they can absorb the water. And also another tree that you can actually, which we use for water purification, is moringa. But when moringa needs to be planted, it doesn't need a lot of water. So you have to look at the time that the water is low at the wetland area, and then transplant your moringa there, seedlings there, and allow them to grow a little bit before releasing the water. Because we've been able to use the seed of moringa to actually purify water. And it's the seed, when it's crushed, and then you just pour the seed that is being crushed into the water that is polluted. It's have a way of purifying the water and making it useful or less harmful for further usage. So those are the two things that I know, and which I have practiced and which works in wet areas.
So David, you can make do with each of your but whichever one you want to adapt, you just have to fill that place up, because you will not be able to plant inside water. So please fill the place with loamy clay soil. Then you can now go ahead to plant whichever crop, moringa, celosia, or coconut. So you can adapt to any of the options, and you are going to do well. However, if you don't want to fill the place, you can create a channel. You can create a channel where the water can flow, create it to a farm where you can plant a moringa or this celosia if you don't want to fill that place. Or you can pump the water out to fill these crops. So any of them will do for you. But if you want that place to be permanently filled up and water are constantly flowing there, you can make do by filling up that place and plant those plants. They consume a lot of water and they purify the water, and they also digest the chemical there. So anyone that you feel is economical for your company, you can make do with them. So I want to believe we have answered the question.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Is there any other question you want us to address, please?
None for now from my end.
Oh, that's good to know. Is there another participant there on board? Okay, is Matthew, are you still there, please? Matthew?
Yes.
Okay, I want to entertain questions from you.
Okay. We are really considering planting some flowers around our greenhouse. So I don't know
Okay.
whether which flowers could you recommend? Especially I want something that will be repellent to insects.
Okay, flower that will
So
be
if
repellent to insects.
yes, please.
Okay, what kind of insect, please?
Commonly in the greenhouse, you have the greenhouse white flies, the aphids, and these grasshoppers that hoops around. So we are really
Okay.
looking at.
Okay. Please, can you just mute yourself so that I can respond? That is a
Okay, sir.
nice comment there. Thank you very much. Now, let me just quickly respond. Allow me can also add to it. I can say that instead of planting flowers, you can spray some kind of extracts. When you spray them once or twice, depending on the severity of the invasion, severity of the attack on in this greenhouse. When you spray them, they naturally repel the attack. That is, I've mentioned Tithonia dasyphifolial during this course of training. Let me also add that you can spray neem extract, either the seed or the leaf or the bark. Neem is Achadiratal indica. That is the botanical name. You can spray those extracts, particularly if they are commonly planted around in your own country. You can make do with them. But if you don't have all of those things, I don't know if you have sawdust in your area. If you have like a sawmill, so you can collect some sawdust of specific plant species. I can give those ones to you. I can send them to you on WhatsApp. They will have always repellent against all these pests. Now we realize that sawdust are becoming like a waste product in many African countries, but they constitute a very good pesticide for us as farmers, and you can make do with that. So, but at the moment, the kind of flower you can plant that will repel now is not really coming to mind. Maybe allow me will help with that.
Hello, Ayo.
Yes, please.
Yeah, African marigold is one. And it's readily available in a lot of places that you can buy African marigold. We have Mexican marigold, we have African marigold. That's one flower that is beautiful, serves as pollinators, and also as pest repellent for nematode. So in fact, there's a lot of work that has been done that if you plant African marigold or Mexican marigold in your tomato field, inside your tomato field, you have less nematode issue and pest issue on your farm. So that's one flower that is doing very well. And I know Matthew is in Ghana. So the only thing is I don't know how to get the seed to you in Vota. So let's communicate. I am coming to Accra next week, and then we can see how I can send it a little seed to you in Vota, and then you nurse it, you transplant it, and when the flower, you allow them to actually dry, and then you collect the seed. The seed is like a string, like you think there are tons, but that is actually the seeds from the flower. You think there are tons, but that's the seed that you nurse back, and then you can keep multiplying them.
So just to add to what Olaume said, you can just make do with African marigold. Then the tutorial that I mentioned, there are weeds everywhere. They constitute weeds. We weed them away because we consider them unuseful. So you can harvest them, soak them in water, or blend them, then you spray. And I can assure you that they will repel those insects in your greenhouse. Okay. Is there another question coming from anyone?
Sorry, so Matthew, let's discuss on WhatsApp. There are other formulations that we have done in Ghana, and there are other products currently that we are using also that is very effective, that are available in Ghana, that are very, very effective.
Okay, so with this, we come to the end of this training course, and permit me to share my screen while I share with you the assignments we all need to attempt. Thank you very much. Appreciate your attention.
Hi, Ibrahim
Yes,
is
please.
asking a question on the group chat.
Okay.
Can you?
Okay, how about a flower or crop that repel trees? Now, what? Okay, you're saying something, please. Ibrahim, please come on. Is Ibrahim still adding to what he has asked, please? Ibrahim?
Ibrahim's net, yeah, he's there, but his network is very
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let me quickly respond to this. How about flowers or crops that repel strips? Well, I think marigold will still do the same. It will repel. It will repel, even though I'm not quite sure the percentage of the how far it's going to repel, but I'm very sure it's going to repel, of course, because I know about the research where you intercrop marigold with tomato, and the pests were well managed, and it also increases production. So you can plant marigold around if you are using greenhouse, it's okay. But if you are using an open field, you can intercrop all of these things. But if it is open field, I want to encourage that there are some crops, depending on the crop you are going to plant. That is when we're going to recommend the kind of plants you are going to intercrop with. That is what we call allelochemical production. There are some crops that naturally produce these chemicals underneath the roots, and they repel many things that are dangerous or that constitute pests to your crops, your target crops. But if it is screen house, screen house is always covered. I believe if it is well managed, there shouldn't be invasion into the screen house. That is why it's screen house. You shouldn't have invasion into heat. So it should be well covered there. But if you must plant something around your screen house, then you can make do with marigold. But if it is open field, we have a lot that you can make do with, depending on the kind of crop you are going to cultivate. That is when we prescribe, so to say, what we intercrop your target crop. Is Ibrahim there? Did you get my point, please?
No, not at all, please.
Okay. Probably to
internet
expatiate. Okay, please expatiate on. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, so let me ask that. Are you considering a screen house kind of farming or an open field?
Both.
Okay, I've mentioned both in both circumstances. Now, number one is that if it's open field, we are going to consider the kind of crop you are going to plant before we recommend what you are going to use to intercrop it. That will naturally repel the strips activities on the farm. But if it is greenhouse, the main reason why it is greenhouse is that we are trying to create a kind of environment that is conducive for that crop without any interference. So naturally, if that greenhouse is well guarded, that shouldn't be a kind of, okay, you are talking about pepper. For pepper, you have many plants that you can cultivate, you can intercrop with pepper. Now, as it is now, you can intercrop pepper with maize. When you intercrop pepper with maize, it naturally repel the activities of strips. There is another vegetable, which I'm like this, the botanical name is not readily coming to mind. It's the local name that is coming to my mind now. If you intercrop it with pepper, pepper spend like 3 months or 3.5 months as the case may be. If you intercrop it with pepper, it naturally repel the activities of strips on your farm. But at least you are aware of maize. So what you do is that you first of all plant your maize, and of course you have a recommended spacing for both intercropping. There are recommended spacing for them. So when you plant your maize, then you cannot plant your pepper. The activity of this pest will be drastically reduced. The reduction will be very, very high. So, but in greenhouse, I want to encourage that you cannot do any intercropping. And in greenhouse, if you must do anything at all, because we believe that is a controlled environment, you shouldn't have the activities of all of these pests in the greenhouse. But if you are going to have, then I will encourage that you can plant marigold around your greenhouse, or you spray, which is very easy to do. So that is what I would recommend from here. Did you get my point, please? Is Brian
Yes,
there?
thank you. Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
All right, you're welcome. So please permit me to share my screen. So let me unshare. Okay, so I wanted to share the assignments we need to do. Okay, we are far behind schedule now, so I will be snappy with it. Okay, it's as if I'm not even on sharing at all. My cursor is not moving. Okay, it has changed. Please pardon me. Please. All right, good. So we are supposed to do exercise 6, action plan for restoration and enhancement. We discussed the layout that promotes biodiversity. The principle of what we want to do is that distinguishing between the measures that enhance biodiversity and those that enhance domestic biodiversity. So the objective is that identify negative practices observed on the farm and invite possible improvement measures to preserve or restore wild and domestic biodiversity. Let me be clearer a little. We have mentioned several practices that we engage in on our farm, particularly open field. We have mentioned many practices that we engage in, that like the use of fertilizer, the use of herbicide, the use of machinery, the use of deep tilling, and many others that we have discussed. Now the question is that these are the negative aspects, negative practices that we have engaged in, that we are still engaging in. Now, what are the measures if you're identifying like deep tilling in the case of open field? So if you don't want to engage in deep tilling, what will you do if you must plant whatever you want to plant? That is what the question is. And if you just, let's start an example for fertilizers. For fertilizers, you know what they do on our farm. So if you are not going to use fertilizer, what would you have used? That is what the question is all about. Is it clear, please? I need you to respond. If it is clear, then I move to this other one. If it is not clear, I explain again.
It's clear, sir. But
it is clear, but okay.
Yeah, but address my problem 8, exercise 8, and then.
Yes, I'm coming there. I'm coming there.
Okay.
Okay, if it is clear, let me unshare. Okay, so I'm going to share another one now, which is exercise. Let me quickly go to exercise 8, as mentioned. Okay, let me quickly, you mentioned exercise 2. Let me quickly mention, let me share exercise 2. Oh, I think, okay. Okay, I think it's coming up. Can you all see my screen, please? Can you see my screen, please?
Yes, please.
Okay, now I think you mentioned exercise 2. So let me quickly mention exercise 2. What you want to do in exercise 2 is very, very simple. On your piece of land, just identify 5 places, just 5. Partition the land into 5 places. And if you have large land, you can select it, you can divide them into 5, and so to say 5 plots. So check under each of, check on each of the plots and check and see if you can see any soft body animals. Soft body like snail, soft body like earthworm. Check each of those plots. If you can see, then mention it. Maybe it is 1, maybe it is 2, you can count it. Also on that land, check if you can see solid body animals like millipede, like centipede, like ants that have 3 segmented bodies. Check what you can see there, number them. And once you have done that, I didn't get you, please.
How for you, your case is different. I'm talking to the.
Okay, so check if you can see all of those things, then write your comments. Why you feel you saw those earthworms, where you saw them, and why they are there, and your conclusion. Probably they have constituted soil improvements there, or their presence there affected the crop production there negatively. That will be your conclusion. So that is what that tool is all about. So please permit me to share with you exercise 8. Okay, it's not readily coming up now. So I want to entertain question. Is the question the exercise I shared, is it very clear? Is anybody answering, please?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to share the last one now. I've shared it before. Okay. It's coming up now. Okay. All right. So permit me to share exercise 8. Okay. Sorry. Okay. For exercise 8, can you all see my screen, please? Okay. Can you all
Yes.
see my screen?
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
good. Now, exercise 8 says that reforestation of marginal lands. We know marginal lands. Marginal lands, they are degraded lands. They are land that probably because of erosion, they have become less in use, or they are no longer in use. So the principle of the exercise, degraded land or mangroves, the de-sitting of water points and waterways, the protection of banks, the protection of waterways and water points against sitting or pollution. For some of us that have seen erosion taking place on the farm, you will see that there is always a pathway to it. Wherever water is channeled through, or maybe deliberately, or if it is deliberate or indeliberate, there is always a channel. It either burrows into the land or creates a kind of wide path on that land, and that will form the pathway for that water. And you see, what implies is that the soil erosion, the topsoil on that land has been eroded. Now, what we want to do is that, what are we going to do? The objective is to be able to carry out in practice, within the framework of one's business, agriculture, livestock, housing, waterways, and bodies of water infrastructure plan, and to analyze the advantages. What we want to do here is that, what are the practices you put in charge to safeguard erosion on your land, if it is erosion in your case? But if it is a marginal land, because marginal land could be anything. It could be the land that have been, just like the question somebody asked, that where the water lands, where you normally, where the wastewater go to, that place, the land has been rendered useless. So what are you going to do to make sure that that place becomes useful? They are what we have discussed here. Somebody can pen down what we discussed about that, about the question somebody just asked. They can pen down, okay, for a marginal land, a land that is already no longer in use because of wastewater. And we mentioned the use of moringa trees, we mentioned the use of celosia, mentioned the use of palm and coconut tree, palm tree too. No, that land was rendered useless and you want to make it useful again. What are those things you are going to do? That is what this question is all about. That is why it is termed reforestation of marginal lands. That is, what are you going to do to make a land that is no longer in use due to activities that are taking place there? What are you going to do to make sure that it is in use again? You will get the explanation of this exercise, please. Is anybody responding?
Can you come?
Still there?
Matthew wants
Did you
you to
get it,
come
please?
again. Matthew wants you to explain over
Okay.
again.
Okay. The explanation is that, locate a land that is no longer in use, maybe due to the activities that are taking place there, such like erosion, such as deposition of chemicals, wastewater that contain chemicals, and they are no longer in use. It could be anything. I just cited those two as examples. The land that are no longer in use, you can anymore. So once you have located it, you tell it has been eroded, probably because there are a lot of activities that do not support agricultural production there. So you now want to make that land to be in use again. You want to make that land to be in use again. It's no longer in use because of those activities. Now you want to make it to be in use again. What are those things you will do? to make it to be in use again. Did you get that question, please?
Yes, yes, I understand the question.
You understand very well.
Exactly.
Okay. What about Matthew? Does Matthew understand?
I'm getting it, sir.
Should I still come again?
Because yes, because the exercise reforestation of marginal lands.
Okay.
So I want to get what exactly probably the answers we are expecting. Is it that we are going, according to your explanation, maybe probably a marginal land, a land that is no more in use? How do we reclaim it, or how do we
get it in use for agricultural
Okay.
purposes? That's all.
Okay.
Do you
Okay.
not get it? All right. So that is all about the assignment. So we are really behind schedule. So we sincerely apologize. So I will share now and hand over to Allow me. Allow me, please take over. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ayo. Permits me to share my screen. And then we have so I am currently on the e-learning page, and on the e-learning page, we can see all the different tiles. I'll first of all go through the training, summary, and conclusion tile. What we are expected to do at this on this tile. So if you open it, you will see the training, summary, and conclusion. You see the training evaluation form. When you click on it, this is it. This is what you will see. These are the questions that you are expected, all participants are expected to answer, and then you submit the questionnaire. Once this is done, it will come back, it will get to Cole ACP, and that is when, if you have finished all your assignments and everything, we are able to, and you've concluded 60%, you are able to release your certificate to you. We can see that the certificate, get your certificate of attendance here, is restricted. So anyone that has finished up to 60% and have filled that training and evaluation form, the certificate will come to this area automatically, and then you can view it, and then you can download it. Also, another information is that having completed this training, COLACP is requesting that if your company or your organization is interested in a further coaching on sustainable biodiversity management, we expect, COLACP expect that you express interest in further training within a maximum of 15 days after the end of this training. So within tomorrow and 15 days, you're expected to show interest if you want further training on sustainable biodiversity management, which is going to be a physical one on your horticultural farm. The terms and condition is that you have followed this training and you have passed with your certificate issued. You have a project defined in relation to the terms of sustainable biodiversity management, meaning that you want to increase biodiversity on your farm. Then the company must pay for the transport and launch of the experts, mobilized for the progress of the mission. So your company must be ready to pay for the transports and launch for the experts that CP will send to you. These are the duties that is expected of the company. The rest, CP will take care of the rest. So if you pass this information to your to the owner of the establishment, then within 15 days they can fill this form, and when you fill this form and submit it, CP, you can see the form. So CP will receive the form and then will switch into action to communicate further plans with us. So that is what we are expected to do from tomorrow. We are expected to fill this form, training and evaluation form. And please, it is extremely important. Like I said, without it, you cannot take your certificate. Also, we quickly run through all the tasks. Like I said, there are 3 main important activities that is very important. We have the mini quiz. After the mini quiz, we have the exercise in module 1. Then we have your test, your knowledge. These are all the activities that are very important for every week. This is week 3 that I'm opening. In week 3, the same mini quiz, your exercise, and then your test your knowledge. In week 3, we have 2 exercises. Week 2, we have 2 exercises also that we are expected to do. Some of us have done it, some of us have not. Please, we are expecting that by tomorrow, the close of tomorrow is the end of this course, that we all have been able to go through the 3 most important activities, and then we can fill the training and evaluation form, and our certificate can be actually issued to us. I found out that as at 2 days ago, nobody has done the exercise, week 3 exercise. Today, I plan to send all these exercises to the WhatsApp group so that we can all see it on the WhatsApp group, and then we can ask questions. So at least each week that has 2 exercises, you must at least do 1. If you cannot do 2, you must at least do 1. And the week that has 3 exercises, you must at least do 2 exercises. All these exercises are things that you do on your farm. They are exercises that you have to understand your farm to answer. And so that gives you a deeper understanding of sustainable biodiversity management, and not just theory of grass strips, flower, hedges, and this. No, it's more. Biodiversity is complex, and is there is a lot to understand and a lot to implement every day on our different horticultural farms. May I know if there are any questions regarding any of the assignments, apart from week 4 that has been explained before? Sorry, I have code. My nose is running. Are there any questions? Matthew? Ibrahim?
Yes, Madam.
No, okay.
Question. Hello.
Hello, I can hear you.
Exercise 4.
Okay, exercise 4, activity 2.
Activity 2.
Activities 2. A. Estimate and calculate the area occupied by semi-natural or natural spaces. The measure will be expressed as, okay, this formula. Okay, so I will, on the group page this morning, I'll put the formula there. I will explain the formula to us, and then the steps how to calculate it. I'll do that on the group page this morning. So like I said, we'll download all the assignments and share it on the group page, especially for those who have low internet also, so that they can send it back to us by WhatsApp, and then we can grade it and put their scores there. Then for this particular assignment, and also all the assignments we'll try today to explain in bits all the assignments. Ayo. So please, week 2 and week 4, all the assignments, let us explain on the group page for everybody what they are expected to do, so that everybody can actually finish up by tomorrow, because they are not things that are very difficult. They just need to be explained, and then I'm sure everyone will be able to do it, either sending it on the e-learning platform, or they send it to us. And after that, they can attempt their test and their mini quiz. Is that okay, Mr. Matthew?
Yes.
Okay. So we will do that. We will explain all the assignments. We'll share it on the WhatsApp, and then we will explain briefly what is expected us to do, and we'll put that on the group page so that everybody will have access from week 1 to week 4. And then the last important exercise that we need to do, activity that we need to do, which is the training evaluation form. We explain that everything on WhatsApp for us, and we expect that by Sunday, everybody will have completed their exercises. Is there any other thing that we need to do? Ayo, any further information?
Yeah, we need to take group picture.
Okay. So
I'm
at this
asking,
point,
I asked David to come.
yeah, please, at this point, we need to take a group picture. Can we all put on our camera? It's just, Ayo, will you be able to do it at your hand?
No. No. Okay, we're expecting Ibrahim to put up a camera. Good, Ibrahim. That's good. Okay, that's the screen now. That's okay. That's good. Okay, allow me. Please do it. I won't be able to do it from here.
Okay. I'm coming. Other person also do it also for us. I'm trying to look at my screen, and I don't want to close this page to be sure that it's taken properly. Do it at your hand. That would be good. Thank you, David, for driving and listening at the same time. Thank you, Matthew. Thank you, everyone, for the past 4 weeks. The 3 of you have been very constant on the training. Even while traveling, you are always there. We are very grateful for the time spent, for the knowledge shared, for the opportunity to share our own knowledge also with you. We are very grateful, and CP is also grateful for your time. And we know that this knowledge you also share with your colleagues at your different horticultural establishment. And we hope to keep the page for further interaction and for dissemination of information. Feel free at any time to contact us wherever you are, from any part of the world that we are all seated. Matthew, we're both in Ghana. Feel free to contact me. I come to Volta all the time. So feel free to contact me one of those days so that I can pass by and see your horticultural farm. And then we can have more biodiversity at the global level with all the things that we are doing at our different establishment. Thank you very much. And over to you, Ayo.
Right. I'm going to also appreciate you all and applaud your commitment towards this training course. And we hope that we have gained one or two things that we'll be able to implement. I want to implore us to please attend the exercises. So once we are able to do that, we get our certificates. They are easy, and we promise to get them uploaded on WhatsApp, and you can just give us feedback on WhatsApp again, then we get the scores across to CP. Thank you very much, and we hope to meet some other day. So from me here, I'm saying goodbye.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.